Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Haines, the 2022 annual threat assessment states, quote, that China presents the broadest, most active, and persistent cyber espionage threat to the U.S. government and private sector networks, end of quote. The assessment specifically discusses the capacity for China to conduct surveillance as well as disrupt critical infrastructure. My question for you, ma'am, is does the ODNI believe that China would use their cyber capacity to shape other countries' decisions, such as the Russians are known to do? Do you believe that that's in the cards as well?
Thank you, Senator. Yes, I mean, I think in the sense that, in particular, our assessment is that China is pursuing significant cyber capabilities in this area, in particular, to deter the United States from taking action in the event of a conflict, for example, in their region.
Thank you. Media coverage during the weeks leading up to Russia's invasion often used open source evidence to support the administration's intelligence estimates. Examples here range from images provided by Maxar's commercial satellite network to Russian military communications that were intercepted by tech-savvy civilians. My question for you, General Berrier, is how is the proliferation of technology and information accessibility for average citizens impacting the realm of professional intelligence work within your agency?
From the perspective of this war between Russia and Ukraine, the plethora of open source data that's available to enrich our assessments has been amazing. Just think of the third-party damage assessment work that's happening right now using images, because most Ukrainian citizens have a cell phone. It's been really rich, and then you combine it with the other open source data that's available and publicly available and can be purchased. For us, it's been enlightening and will probably shape how we do intelligence operations and analysis going forward in the future. We just have to be careful that we use the right rules at the right time to make sure that we're safeguarding the information and that we're not violating any laws or policies.
Yes, so that actually leads to the next question. And you mentioned you're looking at how you integrate that into how you collect information. Is there anything that Congress should be doing to help you better enable your abilities to harness the potential for open source information?
I think we're budgeted for it, Senator, and we're looking forward to the work ahead as we go forward on this issue.
Good. Director Haines, the Biden administration has done an admirable job, certainly, of crafting a coalition of nations to impose sanctions, enforce export controls against Russia for their illegal invasion. This includes our transatlantic partners, many of them who are now giving up on Russian hydrocarbons, something that I think we all would have thought was absolutely unthinkable just a short while ago, as well as our global partners, Japan and Taiwan, actively engaged. What has been noticeable, though, is to see that much of the world is still not with us. They may not be with Russia. I'm not saying they're with Russia, but they're not subscribing to our call for a global coalition of democracies to stand against Ukraine. This includes India, Indonesia, Nigeria, South Africa, and particularly other nations in the global south, in which the U.S. certainly has very friendly relations with, but we have not yet been able to get them to join the Ukrainian cause. As the U.S. will need to certainly build even more robust coalition of nations in the future to counter potential Chinese aggression, I believe it's imperative that the U.S. understand how to win over these non-aligned nations living certainly in a multipolar world. So my question to you, in your view, what steps should the U.S. take to build a broader coalition for potential future conflicts similar to what we're seeing right now?
Thank you, Senator. So from the intelligence community perspective, we've done a lot of thinking about how we can help to facilitate, frankly, the policy community in this area, to your point. And one of the things that we did in the context of Ukraine that I think is possible for us to do in other areas and that we've discussed with the policy community about is basically working with key allies and partners who are influencers, in effect, within specific regions to try to get out to them as much intelligence as we can, obviously being mindful of sources and methods, but just to lay the groundwork so that then the policy community can work with those countries to effectively provide for the kind of coalition that you describe. And I do think it's an absolutely fundamental piece. I mean, the fact that the UN General Assembly managed to garner 141 votes, I think it was, against Russia on the Russia-Ukraine piece was pretty extraordinary. And I do think that our capacity to share intelligence in advance of that moment was critical to getting that kind of coalition together. And I hope we can do that in the future.